So we don't need to look at the history of the flat earth here. We only need concern ourselves with the beginning of the modern flat earth movement. This can most likely be traced to Samuel Rowbotham, who in 1849 wrote the pamphlet Sceptic Astronomy under the pseudonym Parallax, where we can take from the first chapter zetetic and theoretic defined and compared to very important quotes. The first tells us what zetetic means and compares it to what was then the developing scientific method of testing a hypothesis to confirm a prediction. The term zetetic is derived from the Greek verb zeteo, which means to search or examine, to proceed only by inquiry, to take nothing for granted, but to trace phenomena to their immediate and demonstrable causes. It is here used in contradistinction from the word theoretic, the meaning of which is speculative, imaginary, not tangible, scheming but not proving. Aside from the heavily biased wording against the scientific method, this gives us a good insight into what is still, amongst many flat earthers, the principal form of their evidence. That being essentially that the earth looks flat, therefore it is reasonable to conclude that it is flat. The second quote takes us right to the very core of how conspiracy theories start out, and I think it is fair to say that Samuel Rowbotham is where the modern flat earth conspiracy theory began. Let me remind you of what I said about the basis of conspiracy thinking right at the very beginning, then I'll read you the quote. In the conspiracy narrative, we're adding an extra layer. We're moving from a basic cognitive bias to a state of affirming that bias with further erroneous thinking and taking us into a closed belief system. The pamphlet tells us, none can doubt that by making special experiments and collecting manifest and undeniable facts, arranging them in logical order and observing what is naturally and fairly deducible therefrom, the result must be more consistent and satisfactory than the contrary method of framing a theory or system. Rowbotham went on in 1883 to found transatlantic zetetic societies, where he distributed his pamphlet Sceptic Astronomy. In 1893, 8 years after the death of Rowbotham, Lady Elizabeth Blount created the Universal Zetetic Society and created 2 journals, The Earth, Not a Globe Review and Earth. In the April 1893 edition of The Earth, Not a Globe Review, the Society write, "The truth is consistent with itself, let all Zetetics also be so. If water be level, and Dr. Parallax has settled that question for us, then the earth must be a plane, and no amount of astronomical conjuring with degrees ought to unsettle our minds. Water is level, this is our sheet anchor. The earth is motionless, this is another. We have asked in vain for proofs of the earth's motion." Again, as in Rowbotham's pamphlet, we see the initial idea compounded with further erroneous thinking. We also see a parallel to conspiracy theories in general, and another point I have already raised, the shifting of the burden of proof, that they have not been given evidence to what they see as the contending belief system reinforces their own. This should be irrelevant as to the truth value of their own claim. If there is a car parked outside my house that I believe to be blue and someone else holds to be red, that they have not given me evidence that it is red has no bearing on whether it is blue or not. This method of shifting the burden of proof, as with many of the early zetetic ideas, is continued to this day with flat earth conspiracy theorists. The pamphlet also embarks on a more obvious line of conspiracy thinking, when on its cover it states that not a single Christian editor has allowed them to publish their material with them, that their truth in the face of all their evidence is being suppressed. Elizabeth Blount, Wikipedia tells us, held that the Bible was the unquestionable authority on the natural world, and argued that one could not be a Christian and believe the earth is a globe. Fast forward to 1956, when Samuel Shenton formed the International Flat Earth Research Society, often shortened to the Flat Earth Society, as a direct descendant to Elizabeth Blount's Universal Zetetic Society. His principal idea was to convince children that the Earth was flat before they had a chance to learn about the globe Earth, a method unfortunately imitated by current flat earthers Nathan Thompson, who was arrested for approaching children at Hollis Academy Playground in Greenville, South Carolina, and shouting at them that they had been deceived and that they don't live on a spinning ball. And another Nathan, this time Nathan Roberts, who published a children's book, Earth is Flat Like a Mat. Shenton was succeeded by Charles K. Johnson in 1972, and he steadily built up the membership of the Flat Earth Society, and following in Blount's footsteps proposed a conspiracy against the idea of a flat Earth. Johnson built up the membership of the society to around 3,000 members, but after a fire in the California headquarters in the 1990s, its popularity began to wane. In 2004, 3 years after the death of Johnson, Daniel Shenton, no relation to the founder Samuel Shenton, resurrected the society in the form of a website, which in its description states, "This is the home of the world-famous Flat Earth Society, a place for free thinkers and the intellectual exchange of ideas." So what made the movement explode? What was it that took a declining idea and made it a cultural phenomena? And what has NASA got to do with it? Well, according to a BBC News story, it was around 2015 or 16 that the movement began to catch fire, when flat earth videos starting to appear on YouTube. One researcher said the BBC found that of attendees at a flat earth conference, nearly all said they first came into the idea through the video sharing platform.